The webinar is now live and we're broadcasting to all the people all around social media. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, Laura. It's been a few weeks since we've had you on the show. And hi, Jenny and Katie and Damon. Of course, more people will be joining us as the broadcast continues. So what's it like where you're at right now, Damon? What's it like in Oklahoma right now?
I knew you were going to call on me first. Well, today I'm really excited because I hate summertime because it's too hot. And today is 74 degrees outside. It was nice and cool this morning, so fall is just around the corner. So I am excited about that. I am all about all things pumpkin spice, fall colors, cold, all that stuff. So
you're a thin and fit person now, but you said when you were younger you were a little on the husky side, wore like the husky clothes. That's probably developed your hatred of heat. That's when I did.
Yeah, it's just not for me. But you know, it's home, and so but life is good. There's not too much that I can complain about. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, I mean, it's fall, y'all. It's coming up on fall, so the beautiful weather will be here soon everywhere. And who's into pumpkin and pumpkin spice and all that stuff?
Who's not?
Who's not?
There's a lot of people who aren't, but I am not until October. Pumpkins for October and November, peppermint mochas and holiday spices for December, and then it all goes away in January.
Okay, great. Hey, Jay, we're ready to get started. We're gonna jump right in. We missed your introduction today, but we had to get broadcasting. So, Jay, you're in your new place.
I am. Yeah, we're in the new digs. This is part of the new studio. I would love to show you. Matter of fact, they just hung all my guitars and basses in my room, and I've got my Bloomberg TV right in front of me if I want to watch that, and on my Sonos system, and they've hung all my pictures. So it's pretty awesome. To be honest with you, I'm excited.
What generation Sonos system do you have? Do you have a Gen 1 or a Gen 2?
This is the brand new. These are the Sonos sound bars that are just amazing. By the way, these are the latest, greatest things.
I'm gonna have to check them out because I'm in the market.
Yeah, you'll have to come over and listen to them, especially the ones in the living room. It's the big white ones with the subwoofer on it as well. It's really amazing, David. I'm just gonna tell you, it's really amazing.
Yeah, I would hear the subwoofer makes all the difference on those.
It does.
Okay.
It rocks.
We're gonna do two questions today. The first question that I want everyone, we're gonna do it one after another. We're not gonna go through everybody and have you answer the questions. If you can share, and you don't have to, if you can share a post that got you good engagement that you want to share with a group that they can use in social media this week, I think that would be great, especially since we're coming into a new season. It's an opportunity to engage with new people. I know Domenic is having a really successful group, that Raleigh to California group. I've been following that. Incredible engagement there, and it seems to just work on its own. Maybe it's the title of the group that helps. Great job there. And the second question today, our success question, is what was your aha moment in your life or in your career that set you on the path you're on? What's your epiphany that you had? Or maybe you didn't have one. If you didn't have one, I'd be surprised, because you're the type of people I would expect to have that aha moment. So I'd like you to share your aha moment with us as we go around the room. As far as how it is here in Raleigh, it's getting a little bit cooler. Sarah and I are having a great time. Real estate is just crazy. So many transactions, new customers every single day. Lots of opportunity for education here, because there are people buying in Raleigh from all over the country, some to live here, some to invest, and they just don't really know what it's about here. So I love to share that education with them. But a lot of success here. And on my end, my aha moment was when I was still running my bookstores, which I loved doing, but I was getting a little bored doing it. My aha moment was when I figured out that small events and building a sphere of influence was one of the things that led to my success, and that I could teach other people to do small events. That was like my aha moment, because people would always ask me, how are you successful doing something that other people do not have success doing, or in a field that people felt was, being shut down? And it was because of that. I did, looked at my life and said it was doing these networking events that made me so successful. But what was also very interesting for me is, I don't believe all this stuff where people say you're going to be put out of business. How many people heard all the travel agents were going to be put out of business? Every travel agent, right? And how many of you still use the travel agent or have friends that are travel agents that are very successful? Absolutely. Same thing in financial services. Remember when Scott's Trade came out? They said everybody would be doing all their own trading. They would never need a financial service person. I think what it does is, this technology enables you to be better at what you are in your profession, serve more people and people all over the world, and truly have a global business from your sofa or your desk chair. Or, I mean, everyone now has such professional looking offices now, and maybe Jay will do a swing around and show us his office and his new place when it becomes his turn. So let's start with Damon. Damon, something that you've done in social media that's helped you, where you can ask for advice, or alternate, and then what is your aha moment?
Probably the post that got me the most engagement. This business that we're in, and Domenic could probably agree with me. Oftentimes, a lot of what we do is boring, right? It's either boring or it seems like it's over people's heads. The financial world, it's either extreme, either really boring or too complex or whatever. I prefer to kind of make it fun and relate it to things that people actually have an interest in. So a couple of years ago, I was in San Francisco, and we went and took a tour to Alcatraz Island. And I had known already that I was going to use that opportunity as a way to record a Facebook Live broadcast to send to all of my clients and followers. And the lesson that I taught was, I actually went through the whole tour, and at the end, I stopped in front of the cell that it is believed that Al Capone spent much of his time while he was there. And I took the opportunity to tell a tax story. I linked it back to taxes. It's like, okay, so Al Capone murdered, he ran alcohol, prostitution, gambling, did all these things. What ultimately took Al Capone down? Tax evasion. So the lesson here is, you can do whatever else you want in life, just don't screw with the IRS. So, but then I use the opportunity to talk about tax evasion, illegal, tax avoidance and deferral, good and encouraged. And here are some tips and things to defer taxes and to potentially lower your tax bill. The whole video might have been about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, but we posted it on YouTube, we sent it on Facebook, and it got some of the best engagement we ever got. And I had tourists that were walking by, because I had the camera here, and they were looking at me like, who is this freak who's standing in front of the cell talking? But anyway, that was kind of an interesting thing.
I probably thought you were one of the docents.
Yeah, either that, or I was, in my mind, I dreamed that they thought I was some high-profile producer or director who was scouting out a location. I mean, because doesn't this look like the face of a Hollywood producer?
Definitely.
Anyway, as far as my aha moment, when I was younger, we didn't have a lot of money. And so, when you grow up somewhat poor, you don't realize that you're poor. It's just the way life is, right? You don't really realize it until you get a little older and see that there are other people that have money and they can do things that your family doesn't do. And I became keenly aware that my mom and dad, and this is not anything against my mom and dad, it's the world that they lived in and what they knew. But they would, almost without knowing it, we would pass by certain stores and different places. Oh, we don't shop there. We don't go there. And eventually I asked, well, why not? Because that's where the rich people go. I was taught that there is a place for the people with money and the people without money. And what it really taught me was that there is this pervasive, and I didn't realize this till later. This was my aha moment. When I realized that a lot of Americans, and really just people around the world, we are raised to believe what am I trying to say? That surplus, that prosperity is a limited resource that is earmarked for the very special and just a few. Many of us have this scarcity mentality, and that mentality causes us to limit what we dream as possible financially. When I stopped living with a scarcity mentality and started living with an abundance mentality, not, oh, I could never afford that, I started thinking, what do I need to do to afford that? And so that was my aha moment for me personally that I carry over to when I advise my clients and when I teach classes to people, especially people who are getting out of debt. When you're in severe debt, you can't see past that. You can't even imagine a time when you could take a trip to Disney World and drop $10,000 or $15,000 and it's no big deal. But you've got to start thinking that way so that you don't fall back into those patterns of scarcity and that, oh, someone's going to take this stuff away from me. It just changes the whole way you live.
And I think also when you feel that you have scarcity too, you may be less likely to share what you do have, and sharing
You're
is
less likely to share. You're also less likely to take chances. You know, I mean, risk is part of life. And if you really want to grow and, quote, get ahead, you do have to take some risks in life. And sometimes by limiting, you know, it's kind of like you may not lose anything, but you're not going to gain anything either. Stay in that comfortable middle ground. So learning that success is not a scarce resource, that there is plenty of it for all of us if we're willing to work hard enough to get it, that was my big aha.
Yeah, and also in those rich stores, they always have that clearance rack in the back that's taking extra 75% off the 75%.
Oh, yeah.
You're missing out on a lot of opportunities there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Damon. So, Laura, the question is, could you share a great social media technique that you use or have used recently that'll get some engagement? And then what was your aha moment? I think Damon did a really good job because that certainly felt like an aha moment.
Absolutely. I like his story too, because I can totally relate to it. And a lot of people who've been there really get it. So thanks for sharing that, Damon. My technique, or one of the things that I like to do with social media that gets the most engagement, is rather than telling people what to do or an experience telling them what not to do, right? So one of the things I was sharing was tips on how to not struggle when you're at networking events, right? Or how to not be a bad networker. It's interesting because I could sit here all day long and share with people how to network well and really connect with their audience. But the ones that get the engagement the most were, like 10 tips on how to not suck at networking. Things that like really hit home, because people really struggle with that emotional, they can relate to that emotionally, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this. But yet if you give them tips on what not to do or how not to be bad, and then, you're basically still telling them how to do it well. But those are the ones that get the most engagement. It's really interesting for me. The other thing that gets a lot of engagement is when I take the time to really share other people's content and add a story add to what they're sharing, right? So really highlighting what they're sharing, giving them more, kind of lifting them up, and then sharing that with my audience as well. And even putting a little bit of a spin to it from my thoughts, or inviting my audience to comment on it, or, hey, what did you get out of this message? So by sharing content, I get a lot of interaction that way. A lot of people, the engagement rates really seem to climb when it's not my own content. It's like highlighting other people that I know, which is really helpful. And as far as my aha moment kind of came when I was a leader for a professional women's networking organization, and I was kind of in that influx of wanting to move away from working in the direct sales field wanting to do something on my own. I had stepped into a leadership role with a national organization. I was the national director for professional women's business development. And I had that leadership moment of what do our members really need? What are they looking for? What do they need to grow? And a lot of the questions that I was getting from the folks that I was interacting with, all these amazing ladies who, to me, were just just amazing women who were building businesses, were super successful, had all the confidence in the world when you would have a conversation with them. But the moment they would go to do their 30-second message, they would literally fall apart, like getting really nervous. I don't know what to say, or they'd like just kind of babble and be like, oh my gosh, that's still not what they do. My heart physically hurt. Like I felt so much pain for these women because it doesn't need to be that hard. And because of all the training I had for years in the network marketing field, one of the things I started doing was teaching people this simple formula that I had learned over the years. And my aha moment for me really came when there's nobody out there teaching this the way I teach it. I need to help these people. I'm going to launch my own business. So about a year went by and I was really kind of helping a lot of people. People were reaching out and, asking what it was that I was teaching. So I came home one day and I said to my husband, I think I know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to launch this new business. And it was amazing to me because when the first time I actually taught someone how to do, just using a very simple formula, how to use the right words to really connect with their audience and teaching them that it's really about just inspiring people to want to know more. I saw such a transformation in that response. It made me cry because I saw this woman who was struggling for so long just really step into owning her message. And that was that light bulb moment, like, I need to do more of this. And, so since then, it's been really a wonderful path to travel with so many amazing people and helping them make that adjustment. So I feel, I'm blessed because I get to do this every day.
I mean, you get to alleviate a lot of people's anxiety that's probably preventing them from networking, especially if they've already, failed before. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios where you're not, technically asked to give your 30-second, but believe me, it's going to come up in conversation no matter where you are, and you don't want to fumble and set opportunity. So when you make the post about networking, what do you find are people most frequently bad at?
I think the hardest thing is the follow-up. A lot of people really tell me that they can go to networking events and they meet all these people and then they get home and they just don't know how to be consistent with follow-up. It's more about the consistency with follow-up than actually doing the follow-up. Maybe they'll connect with someone on LinkedIn or they'll have a phone call with someone, but after that, it's like crickets. They're not taking, just making more of a habit of following up with people. And that's where they feel like the biggest struggle is.
I think that the problem with follow-up is people feel they have to follow up with everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
And you don't.
Right.
When I'm in an event, prior to Rockstar Connect and putting our systems in place, I would literally just take the business cards of the people that were important for me to follow up with and fold over the end of the business card. And I put those in my left pocket and the other ones in the right pocket of my sports coat. And I was able to keep up with it. But I've always believed, and I've been networking, I guess as a professional networker for this week will be 33 years. My birthday is on Saturday. Yes, it is important to know a lot of people, but it's even more important that people know you. So if you do that and you have that case where you don't follow up with everyone, but people still know who you are and they know what you do, they're eventually going to follow up with you. They're not lost to you. Or when you're reintroduced to them again, it's an opportunity to make yourself known. I would say that's a great benefit of your business is you're saying, hey, right at the beginning, this is your chance to make an impression where people will remember you. Are you overly concerned with the follow-up, or do you feel that there's a balance with follow-up?
Oh, by the way, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I feel like follow-up, it's not necessary. Sometimes it's not really the follow-up that's the issue. It's exactly what you were saying. People feel like they need to follow up with everyone. And one of the things that I coach people on is just pick, 2 or 3 people, get to know them, learn more about them, make an impact on that person. And you don't have to follow up. Your follow-up could be like a monthly. You can kind of put it into a system. And that's one of the things that I work with folks. The other thing that you touched on there was having that introduction in the beginning. People will remember you when you have a very succinct and clear 30-second message, even if it's just that good one-liner that you share with people. And one of the things that I teach people is you need to give them a message that they can repeat for you. It's got to be repeatable, right? Because when they run into someone who needs you or needs your help, they want to be able to repeat exactly what it is that you do so that they can then refer you and connect you. And that's just a great way to remember that your 30-second message or your one-liner really needs to be memorable, that it has to be clear, concise, and memorable.
What about when you get a little deeper in the conversation, like a memorable story? Like there's stories that Damon has told me that I will always remember about Damon and Katie and Jay and Domenic and Jenny. I will always remember them no matter what. Even if I don't remember their name, God forbid, it'll come to me very quickly because I remember that story.
Yes.
Is that like the next level of what you teach people to how to identify that story?
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is remembering. One of the things, is having that story. Stories are easier to remember. It's just they're imprinted in our brains than anything else. So when you can learn to tell your 30-second message as a story, it becomes extremely memorable for your audience. And that's one of the things that I do teach certain people. I will tell you all day long. I had and here's a story for you. I had a feng shui consultant who I absolutely loved. We would write her commercials, so, very scripted. She wanted, really nice scripted messages, and I would write them. She would love them. The next day I'd get a phone call. I'm not feeling it. Like, oh my gosh. This happened like 3 or 4 times where we sat down together and wrote them out exactly how she wanted them, and she loved them. Couple days went by and I'm started like really listening to her, and she would tell me stories, but her stories were really, really long. I'm like, there's no way she's going to tell them in 30 seconds. So I said to her, you are a great storyteller. Let's figure out how to teach you how to use the formula to tell the story. So we broke down the formula, taught her how to do the story. The first time she did that in a networking environment, people applauded her. She told a story about a life-altering experience that she delivered for one of her clients, and it was amazing. And her energy was huge. And it was because she was able to share it in a story format, didn't go over the 30 seconds, and it was beautiful.
I mean, that's great. Like Mark Sher, who's not on the program today, oddly enough, usually has a great story that he uses to demonstrate when he speaks to people. And I've heard him tell the story at this point 100 times. But every time he says it sounds like he's saying it for the first time. There's a little bit of drama there. I mean, everyone on this panel are great storytellers. It's one of our strengths. And I think that's one of the things that make us excellent networkers. And part of what will make people react well to us is when you make that story relevant to them as well in their situation.
Absolutely. And I bet you can tell Mark's story for him, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I could. It's a script, right? I mean, I use a lot of scripts to help my clients make decisions that they want to make in a timely fashion, because in my business, time is of the essence, as in most businesses. Yes, we would like to have the luxury of taking our time and thinking about things for a few months, but that may not always be, the way the opportunity presents itself. Especially when you're meeting other people too, because they have a limited amount of time that they can follow up as well. Let's go over to Katie. Katie is a social media master and does a lot of great social media. What has been standing out for you in the last week or so as far as your social media engagement?
I think Instagram. Domenic, what did you just say?
I said, I know.
I don't know. What are you gonna say?
Oh, all the posts about living with your parents.
Oh, yeah. So that does lead into like Instagram Reels. Instagram stories, Instagram Reels. So Instagram stories, aren't going to gain you new followers, but they are going to keep up your engagement with your current followers. And I, if you follow me, I post 1 million stories a day. I like to mix it up with personal stuff, funny stuff, work stuff, just a little bit of everything. And when I had COVID this past week, so I'm living at home, for a few months with my parents before I move in with a friend this winter. And so I was quarantined up in their attic turned frog. And it's a beautiful little space, but not to be confined in for days and days on end. It's very small. And so, my parents would put food on the bottom of the stairs of the attic and refill my water. And so I started videoing, turning the corner and going down the stairs to show what food was waiting for me. And people said they just lived for those posts to see what was waiting for me. And they're like,
cut it all up for you into little bites.
Oh yeah.
Well,
no, because I specifically requested pre-sliced apples from the store. I didn't want my mom to buy a full apple and slice it. I wanted those pre-sliced ones. There's something about them. And yeah, sometimes she would peel my little orange for me, the cutie, or but and yeah, she'd cut up my pear. I craved fruit like all of COVID. And so, anyways, I posted those every day, all day. My refill water. I'm like, oh. My mom forgot the other ranch, and I'd like show going back down the stairs to pick up this one tiny ranch. And then I turned them all into an Instagram reel. And people thought it was hilarious. It's because it's just so relatable and everyone gets it. And, your parents never stop being your parents, even when you're almost 40, like 38, like I am. And they're always your parents. So I think that the Instagram stories, people get very, everyone tells me the minute they open their Instagram, my story is always the very first one on their page, waiting to be looked at. And so that's good with my engagement with my current followers, but Instagram Reels has skyrocketed my engagement with non-followers. And so I took an Instagram Reel course to learn how to do it. And it's been huge, tremendously successful for me in just engagement. So I, do a lot of work, Instagram Reels for my online academy and for my nonprofit, but those don't get as big of engagement. So I do like the personal funny Instagram Reels, which, those will get thousands and thousands and thousands of views. So now I'm in their engagements up and I'm in their algorithm, and then I hit them with the important stuff, which is like my businesses. So they'll see it. So that's kind of my trick to it, is just to keep in front of people. So they see the funny stuff, they engage with that, but that means they're also seeing the important stuff. Like, today I had a workshop, free workshop, or hey, we have a bike reveal coming up, like the important stuff I actually care about and want them to see. So I think that
behind that, I mean, you're also selling yourself as a personality. You said your dream job would always be to be on TV, and you're on TV.
Well, my dream job would be to be specifically a talk show host. I'm on TV all the time, but yeah, to be a talk show host would be like a host of like a TV show. But yeah, so it's, and yeah, part of social media is like selling my brand, my personal brand, which is me, my personality. And it's the thing is, it is genuine. It really is just me. And I also feel like I try to keep it real. Like I share, I was having anxiety this past November, December, January, which was unusual for me. And I shared all about it. And, I keep it real. Like life isn't always perfect. Like just today I shared a picture and I was like, the day I took this pic, it was a professional photo. I was like, the day I took this, I was in a horrible mood. My stomach was in knots. I wasn't sleeping. I had anxiety. I didn't want to go to this photo shoot, but the pictures of me laughing, it's this amazing photo. But I was I hated life that day, and so I what's that?
That was a good post.
It was cute. Yeah. And so I try to just keep it real too. And people appreciate that because a lot of people will message me all the time and say, thank you for being so honest about stuff, because so many people just share only the good, and they don't. And that's the problem with social media in general, is we compare ourselves to everyone. We think, oh, that person has the most perfect life, which I look at people and think that all the time. But it's, none of us have a perfect life. So it's important to share the good and bad, because then people feel like they trust you. They feel like they know you. And so then when it comes time for, the ask, which is like donations by nonprofit, or, they want to be part of it because they know, like, and trust you.
Right. And you don't know what other opportunity you may want to delve into the future, but you already have these followers. What
Right.
is your aha moment?
I think just being genuine is like, that's like the best business trick in life, I think, is be genuine. I am not one of those, I hate when I get a overly professionally worded email, kind disregard, it's just best. It's like, stop. No one talks like that. Don't sign an email to me best and then put your name. Like,
I sign every email best.
do you?
And I am genuine.
I do too.
I don't like
I
that.
do best or warmly.
I go, thanks, with an exclamation point. Like, it's like up.
Right.
I just
wishing you my best. Like, it's like you're not my friend, so we're not at the point where I can like just forego a closing word. Like, we can get to that point rather quickly once we start going back and forth, but that's not in kindest regards or warmest regards is kind of stuffy, and like, I'll give you that. But, and it's old school, but like, it's a way to be like kind and professional and not stuffy. Like,
I guess
that's
I just personally, it's just
personally you wouldn't use it. That's great.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
Domenic and I do.
When I just don't, when I write, I talk to people professionally how I talk to people personally. I mean, to a certain degree, obviously, but I'm always myself. And I remember, I think I've shared this before, when I was a teacher, my principal said that was the best and worst quality about me, is that I am always me. And, there's just no differentiation, but, I think I have learned people connect to that so much more. It's just, I'm real. And I hate people say, like, I'm too real. That means you're just being a bitch. Like, I'm not that type. I'm just, like, they can't know how real I am. I'm not like that.
I was having a little text back and forth with an agent today, and I guess I wasn't in their caller ID. And I looked back through my messages previously, and they were so friendly and so nice. And then they were just like, in this one, they were so not nice in the text responding. And then I wrote, well, I need to know this information. And this is Stephen David Elliot, by the way. And then all of a sudden they were nice emojis again. And I'm like, wow, what a fake person you are. You shouldn't be treating other professionals that way, especially if you don't know who they are. And then to come back and be all sweet and la, 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 la.
Right.
But let's jump over to Jenny. First, social media, and then your aha moment, please.
So like, I have been kind of undergoing a bit of a, not a rebrand, but a repurpose of my social content. So, I can say the things that get the most engagement. There's two things. Number one, when they are shared strategically, and then that increases the engagement. Like, one of the most highly engaged with posts was something that was like a podcast episode, like just like a regular social post about whatever the podcast episode was that week. But it just so happens the guest was someone who also had a wide network, who also like, and it was still getting traction like 6 months later. So, it's dependent upon what's the post about, where are you sharing it, when you're strategically sharing it from your business page to other spaces, or posting it from your main Instagram page to a story, or like creating a reel around the post and then sending people to, like, there's a whole algorithm and kind of formula around that. But I mean, of course, we all know that the posts that do the best for me are the ones that have my kids in them. So people, recognize my kids on the street in the downtown of where we live. People know who, they don't know they have names, but they know who my kids are. And that's because just by happy accident, my husband and I decided from the get-go that we weren't going to use their names on social media, that they had their own hashtags. So, and then that was also a really great way for us to organize. What, Dominic?
What's their hashtag?
So the Nicholas is the Midget. And that came from a very, very dear friend who has since passed away. When I told him I was pregnant, he got like so super excited and was like literally gushed back this like 10 paragraph email about how amazing parenthood was. And then as a PS, he was like, are you gonna call it the Midget because our last name is Midgley? And so like and then he passed away not long after that, and so that stuck. So Nicholas was the Midget, and then Samantha is the Midget. Because when I was pregnant with her, my cousin was like, if Nicholas is the Midget, is she gonna be the Midget? And I was like, done. So so that's their that's that. So those always do the best.
And what is your aha moment?
The aha moment was when there was like a convergence. It was like the perfect storm, right? But minus Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney. So it was like I was working. I used to be I was not I used to be. I guess I still am. It's in my blood. But I was working as a hospital social worker, and it was a convergence of that. I realized when I was pregnant and then had my first child that I didn't want to have it all. Like, I didn't want to be this, like, I can do and be everything to everyone and have the great job and have the kids in daycare and like have that life where, I can do it. I didn't want it. I wanted to be home with my child, which was a very like different, and I guess if like I had been more honest with myself and dug deeper prior to marriage and pregnancy and all the choices that we made up to that point, that there would have been maybe a different way we would have done it, but it is what it is. So I was afraid to go tell my manager at the time that I was pregnant because I was afraid of her reaction, because she was not an effective leader. She ruled with shame and humiliation and fear, and it was a really toxic environment. And I made my husband wait out in the parking lot so that like I could call him and give him the heads up it was okay to go after our doctor's appointment. Like, we went from the doctor's office to the next building over to the hospital, and I was like, can you just wait out here for moral support? Like, you don't have to come in, but I have to go tell her. Like, that's what started I'm going to call it the aha spiral because that's what started the aha spiral. And then it just kind of like, it went from there.
I think there's a lot of aha moments for social workers.
There have to be a lot of aha moments for social workers.
My aha moment for social workers, when I was applying to go to get my master's degree and get LCSW, and they told me, well, in addition to the job that you're not getting paid for, that you work 60 hours a week, we want you to do another job like that for free for the next 4 years.
For 16 hours a week for 2 years. Yep.
Yeah, then I was sort of like, you know what? I could probably hire 5 social workers to work for me instead.
Right. And that's the thing, right? Like, because then you start going through and you start weighing, like, where am I getting my ROI in this, right? Because, like, when you are looking at it from that perspective, you're like, I'm literally killing myself to just try and survive. Is this a space that I really want to live in? Is this an example that I want to set for my kids? Is this what I want? Kind of the next thing, like, is this what I want to do with my life? And the answer was no. While I was pregnant, interestingly enough, like, I started applying for jobs while I was still pregnant. Then I remember sitting at my desk. I didn't care. Like, I was like, I do not give a flying anything. Like, I would just apply. If it weren't for the health insurance, there was one job that I would have taken in a heartbeat. but I couldn't get health insurance. I wouldn't have been within the 90 day or whatever. And I was like, well, I can't have a baby without health insurance. So we're going to have to say no, unfortunately. But it also led to, like, I ended up having to stay because there wasn't anywhere else for me to go at the time. And so we did what we had to do to make it work. My husband ended up getting another job. We ended up moving down to North Carolina. I ended up making other changes and other steps forward that led me to here today. So, like, I can go down the shame spiral of making, whatever I felt badly about those decisions, or I can just be like, it happened and I'm going to move on from it. And I'm going to,
I mean, I like the you say it's an aha spiral, because it may not just be one moment. There may be that moment that leads to many other moments. And I'm sure that's the experience for other people on the panel. And thank you so much for sharing about it. I had been having a real social work success. I have one of my Facebook groups. I got to tell you guys, I have like 250 Facebook groups, of which Alan up here, our producer, manages almost all of those. But there are a lot of pages that I manage on my own, and one has jumped up to 24,000 people in about 2 years. And
that's the Lake Gaston one.
The Gaston one. That generated for me thousands of dollars of commission last month. And we're talking about, the follow-ups in one-on-one. I took someone who wasn't in the group and I added them into the group. They immediately go, I've never heard of Lake Gaston. They drove up there that day and I wrote an offer on a property for them and made a really nice, substantial commission. So you guys can make money from your social media. Very easy to do it if you're consistent. We're going to go to Domenic, and then we'll let Jay to get us out the door. And Jay's going to show us a little bit of his office and what he's doing over there, which we're excited about. Domenic, good to see you. Didn't see you last week, I don't think. Great to have you back. Or did we? We did see you.
I think we did. Yeah, last week.
You're going to be much more memorable this week.
Yeah, I hope so. Last week I had the question, so I don't know.
Right.
But I forgot about that. Aside from teasing Katie on TikTok, I've been getting a lot of engagement in a very, very practical way, which is just keeping up and being consistent with people on giving them birthday wishes. And when you get to a point where you have so many people on social media, so Stephen, I'm sure you're like me, you're maxing out your Facebook friends, and you've also got thousands and thousands of connections on LinkedIn, plus a normal list of people you should probably send at least an email wishing them happy birthday. There's a service that I found, it's called Birthday Buddy, and it will post messages to people's walls directly on Facebook for all your friends that have their birthday listed. It will send a direct message on LinkedIn to everybody that's got their birthday listed. And if you've got a list of people in your email system and you've got birthdays, it will send them a message on their birthday via email too. And you could make up different images, birthday cards, messages, and whatnot that'll automatically put in their name and that sort of stuff. And in addition to doing that, I created custom birthday cards on Canva to send out to people, and it'll randomize which one it sends on any given day, but it will cover making sure what's that?
You need an Allen.
I do need an Allen for sure. But regardless, I'm just saying that this is a way where you can make sure you at least get consistent about wishing everybody a happy birthday, because people like to feel special on their birthday. And to have somebody who maybe you're connected with on social media who you don't really know all that well, post something on your wall or send you a private message just wishing you a happy birthday, and not just the automated happy birthday message that you can send, but something that's a little bit more thoughtful. People really react to that very, very well. So that's a very practical tip. So birthday buddy is what I use to do that. Yeah,
definitely check that out.
check that out.
What was your aha moment?
Yeah, so this is an aha moment in my career. This was an aha moment as I was thinking about that spurred me to change careers. So as most people know, I was a chef, and I was at the point in my career as a chef where I was riding this. It was almost like a roller coaster. So I was no longer the young chef who was taking whatever I was offered and working 1,000 hours a week to prove myself and everything else. I had, almost 2 decades worth of experience, and was in a career position where I wanted to work what was appropriate. And even in a restaurant, working what's appropriate is significantly more than most people ever think about working in a week, but also to get paid what my value was to the business. And unfortunately, unless you, as a chef, open your own restaurant, you're not going to get paid your value, because owners don't value the person that produces what is the reason why people come to a restaurant to eat, which is the menu and the food, and make sure everybody's trained and things are running smoothly. So I found myself in a position where I would end up more in consulting roles, where I would be brought in to open a restaurant or a concept. I would work for 6 months straight, 3 months before the opening and 3 months after the opening, and it would just be nonstop 80 to 100-hour weeks preparing for the place to be opened, opening training, working as hard as I can to make sure things are running smoothly. And then by the time everything was running smoothly and I could step back from my workload significantly, it was okay, now it's time to turn the restaurant over to the young, hungry, will work 100 hours a week for $30,000 a year and move on from the guy that's costing us too much money. And then I would work zero while I was looking for my next thing. So it was either balls to the wall, excuse my language, or nothing. And I'm too old for this. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of having somebody else constantly being in control of what I make, what my value is determined to be, and tired of not being rewarded for all the effort that I'm putting out to start these businesses. I wanted to do something for myself. I wanted to be in control of my own destiny. And that's why I made the transition out of being a chef into the career I'm in now, where, if I work 100 hours a week, it's because, one, I have that much to do. And if I have that much to do in a week, I guarantee you I'm making more than enough to compensate myself to where, I could probably take the next week off, because I accomplished so much doing what I needed to do in that week, and that's okay, right? So I get to set my schedule. I get to work as much or as little as I want. I get to coach my daughter's softball team. I get to be there for all my son's soccer games, and, be home for dinner, be home on the weekends, be home for holidays, and, really experience the life that I really always wanted, which was to be able to make the living that I need to make and take care of my family the way they deserve to. And at the same time, not feel like the other shoe's always ready to drop.
I want people to be clear that, you do a lot of networking as well.
Of course.
Networking certainly gets you business, but it does take time. You do it efficiently. You do that because that's part of your giving back.
Oh, of course. You do give back. And like you mentioned earlier about the networking, it is a lot about getting people to know you through the networking. But the other thing, and talking with or listening to Laura talk earlier about the re-engagement, Now, I always just treat it like the networking event. When you first get an opportunity to meet somebody at a networking event that you haven't met before, to me, if there's enough of a connection, I'm going to follow up and just have that one-to-one. Hey, let's have a 15-minute phone call. Let's get together, have a cup of coffee. Let me invite you out to another event where we can spend a little bit more time together, whatever that is. But I don't evaluate whether or not I want to follow up with that person based upon whether or not I think I'm going to do business with that person. I really want to follow up with that person based upon whether or not I want to I am intrigued enough to find out more about building an actual relationship.
And you want to spend time with that person.
Exactly. That's more important to me than making a sale or getting a referral or anything else, because I figure if I build a strong enough relationship, all of that's going to come anyway, and it's going to be a lot more impactful than just the transactional nature of sometimes what our business can be. I'd rather do business with 100 people that are in my tight circle than try to do business with 1,000 people that I have to constantly worry about, guys like Damon coming and plucking them off at the edges. No offense, Damon, that's just in general competition.
Well, also,
if you have the close
network is following up for you. If you're doing
right
correctly, you don't have to do all the follow-up. Your network does the follow-up.
Well, right. There's that, but there's also, having that close relationship, you don't have to worry about competition because they bought you. It's not about whether or not they can get it cheaper somewhere else, or, somebody's going to get them a, 25 extra basis points over here for some reason or another. They're buying you. And that's more important. That building that strong relationship is far more important than anything else we do in our business.
Excellent stuff. Jay, social media. I saw you had some good social media this week, and it's sort of transitioned from cinder blocks to state of the art.
Yeah. So first of all, let me just say this, Katie Blomquist. I had COVID for 2 weeks in February, and I was miserable, and so I had so much compassion as you were doing what you were doing. And I thought that was the most powerful part for me of your social media, was just that I just felt so much empathy and compassion because I know what I felt like, and I know how miserable I was. And I was alone because my wife left me and I was in a house all by myself and nobody could come and see me. So I felt your pain and I felt your discomfort, and I felt, but I also appreciated your positive outlook and your sense of humor. So I want to say that up front because it meant a lot to see your post.
Well, thank you. I was vaccinated, so I think that helped a lot with my symptoms. I was still able to work every day for a couple hours. There's only one day I didn't work. So I wasn't as miserable as you probably were, because that was like before I think people could even get vaccinated really, or the general public. So you probably people who had it, before probably suffered a lot more than I did. It felt like a light flu to me, but thank you. I mean, I still felt like garbage, but I wasn't like dying, miserable, but thank you.
You're welcome. No, that was awesome. A lot of people don't know Stephen. I'm a registered trademark in the world as the internet doctor, and I'm the only registered trademark. And I have written several books and done years of research on social media. Matter of fact, I coined the term social mediology, which is the study of social media from the psychological and sociological and cultural aspect of the platform and how the users use it. Subsequently wrote 2 books that have been introduced to colleges and universities, the social media playbook for coaches and administrators and the social media playbook for student athletes. And so this is right up my alley, and because I've done so many years of research on this. And I think whoever's listening out there want to give a couple things. First of all, you have to make a decision on what engagement means to you. All right, because engagement does not mean the same thing to everybody. What people call engagement may not be. I personally don't believe that likes, for instance, if you get a like on a post, is an engagement. I believe there has to be some sort of other interaction, because we know that there's some psychological factors involved with likes. One of them, a psychological term we call parasocial contact, where people will like what people do, especially on social media, simply because they believe that they're part of their tribe. This is why somebody like Justin Bieber can have 40 million followers on Twitter. It's because, not that Justin Bieber has anything to say of any value, but simply because he's a popular figure. And we also know that popularity comes from one of the other things. It's called halo effects. And halo effects are those things that happen when people are attractive. And the more attractive, sorry, it's just a fact, but the more attractive you are, the more likes you're going to get. That's just what the research says. I'm sorry. Listen, I have a face for radio, so I feel your pain. Everybody out there who's listening to this, okay, I get it. So we have to be really careful when it comes to talking about engagement. Now, what I will tell you is that everybody's hit it, and here's the deal: there has to be some sort of, you have to be authentic. All right, first and foremost, you have to be authentic with who you are. And you can't just make everything about business. And we also have to take in mind that there are several platforms which I call cultures. And culture is about knowing the language and the unwritten rules, norms, and expectation of each platform, or in my terms, culture. So what I do on LinkedIn is not the same thing I do on Facebook, or I do on Instagram, or wherever else I may be out there, right? And I'm on all of the social media platforms, and I use some more than others. So I have to be careful to play within the culture. I wrote an article for Inc. magazine a few years ago entitled, it's the right marketing, but the wrong culture. And the example I gave was, you would not sell a Big Mac in India and expect to have results. But what India has is the Maharaja Mac, which is made with chicken. So you have to understand that you have to play within the cultures that you're at in the right way in order to be successful in those cultures. And that means that you have to do things. So if you're on Facebook or Instagram, you know what? You've got to mix it up. You're going to have show your personality. You're going to have to show your fun. You're going to have to show your interest. You're going to have to show that you are who you are, not just one part of your life. You need to be that way. LinkedIn, by the way, now that Microsoft bought it for $26.6 billion several years ago, it's now Friday's business casual. So we have a little bit more flexibility in LinkedIn than we used to. I remember writing a post and 7,000 people read it later. On my YouTube channel, I once did a video of my knee replacement rehab, and now it's millions of views on it, right? Is that engagement? I don't know if it's engagement, but certainly it had some popularity, right? So I think, I look at that, and I look at what are people responding to, but I'm more looking at who's sharing my stuff, and I'm looking at who's talking to me about my stuff, because those are the people that, when I'm engaged in conversation, that's when things change. Likes don't change very much, but conversations do. And I think that's the goal. And by the way, it only takes one conversation to change your business on social media. One conversation, which is why you have to continue to do it, so you can have that one conversation. Now I'm going to switch gears and to your second question about what was my moment.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the lowest part of my life. I was selfishly depressed. I was extremely prideful and focused on the wrong things. And I finally hit rock bottom. And it took my wife to say something to me, to wake me up. And that's the truth. I got in the way of myself. I believed my own crap, and I believed my own headlines, and I believed my own stuff, and it sunk me. And I needed to get some humility. I needed to be humbled, and I needed to get some gratitude. And it was those things that kind of flipped the switch for me and made me realize I was pursuing the wrong things. I was pursuing money rather than pursuing helping people. And when I changed that that's when things change.
That's a great aha moment. Is that when you switched over more to coaching? Then
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I switched. I went from being a coach. I went from being this quote unquote great author and speaker, who's in front of thousands of people, to realizing I needed to be a coach and a podcaster that was helping the world to be better in leadership and success, and recognized that it wasn't about money. It was just about, I needed to utilize the talents and gifts and abilities and knowledge that I've been given. And I needed to use that to my best ability to help as many people as I can with whatever time I have left in this planet.
that's fantastic. And also it allows you, I would imagine, to reflect on where you were blessed and really enjoy even the material things more that you had.
Yeah, you begin to look around you and realize what you really do have. And you realize that not everybody gets to have what you have, and you don't deserve. I sometimes feel like, well, I often feel like I don't deserve what I have, but I am extraordinarily grateful for it.
That's terrific. That's great stuff there. Thank you, Jay, very much. Great panel this week. I really enjoyed everybody's aha moments and also the social media advice. And it's funny that sort of our aha moments are a lot of what determined how our social media came about and what type of social media we have. Next week, Katie, I'd like to give you the opportunity to be the talk show host. So you're going to be hosting the
Did you
panel.
just say my name?
Yes, Katie.
Okay.
You are going to be the host next week. I'll give you a little help. I'll be your Ed McMahon. And you're going to come up with a question for next week. Okay? So maybe we can get some of your fans to know that you're going to be on as well. Alan will take care of that and get that out there. Everyone, thank you so much. Rockstar Connect, we're adding more events all the time. Very excited. My event that I've been hosting now for 10 years is tonight. I never missed a month of that event except during COVID. Very difficult for me, but now we're back at it. We're going to be the Raleigh Beer Garden tonight. So if you are in the Triangle area or within a couple hours drive, come and meet some of the people that are on this panel and learn what it's like to Rockstar Connect. Thank you all very much.